Today, guys, we are going to investigate whether cows deserve their reputation as the #1 homestead animal. We're going to be looking at the cost to feed these animals and potential profit earned from them. I want to put two very important disclaimers up front. First, these figures are what we calculated for our region and our land. You might have to take these numbers and adjust them for your situation. Number two, you'll notice I'm approaching this from a business perspective, but the idea is just as valid if you are a homestead and not planning to sell milk or dairy products or beef from your cows. It will still help you to see if that idea is sustainable for your farm. The feed requirements of your average cow are 24 pounds of feed per day. This means that a cow will eat 60% of a 40-pound bale of hay in a day. At $7 a bale, this is $4.20 of hay per day. One cow will eat approximately 8,760 pounds of hay in 365 days. This would translate to 219 40-pound bales. At $7 a bale, that is $1,533 of hay in a year. A dairy cow that is lactating will need roughly 4 pounds of grain for every 1 gallon of milk she produces. Grain costs vary wildly depending on where you live and what you are buying, but in our area, a 50-pound bag of grain costs approximately $35. The cow will eat $11.52 of grain for every 4 gallons of milk she produces. So if your cow is giving 4 gallons per day, $11.52 is what you would spend on grain. Those of you who want to work regeneratively are probably asking, can dairy cows produce milk without grain? And the answer is yes, but only when there is sufficient nutrition and dry matter available. Your cow will need approximately 100 pounds of dry matter to equal 10 pounds of grain intake. That dry matter has to come from somewhere in order to keep the cow's production up, along with sufficient nutrition that is no longer being found in the form of grain. A dairy cow specifically bred for grass-based production will, on pasture only, produce 3 to 4 gallons per day. Do not attempt to produce 100% grass-fed milk unless you have extensive pasture available, along with the ability to intensively rotationally graze and have backup options for supplemental feed such as high-quality hay, alfalfa, etc. So far, we are at a daily feed cost of approximately $15.72. If your cow is lactating and producing 4 gallons of milk in a day, your cost per gallon of milk would be $3.93. It is worth noting that 4 gallons per day is a conservative estimate, unless you are feeding a pasture-only diet. Keep in mind that these hay costs are reflective of a hay-only diet. If your cows have access to pasture and if they are being rotationally grazed so that most of their nutrition can come from the pasture during the grazing season, then this cost will be less. Go ahead and take the figure of 24 pounds of hay per day and calculate based on the number of days that you would actually be feeding hay. Our current hay estimate is at $1,533 per year. If you are raising a beef animal, then take that figure and multiply it by 2. Then divide it by your estimated yield of beef, which, for the average 2-year-old beef critter, is between 350 and 500 pounds. Keep in mind there are other costs associated with raising and keeping cows, and there are other pros and cons to having them. This video only analyzes feed costs and how that impacts your production. I hope you'll take this information and analyze it based on your specific situation. If you are a homesteader and you feel like these numbers don't really apply to you because you're not trying to make a profit from your farm, I want to encourage you to still take these figures seriously. Your goal might not be for profit, but it's still important to know how much your own food is costing you to grow. Make sure to check out the PDF linked in the description that contains the same information of feed inputs that we discussed here, so you can have it on hand, and it's absolutely free. Any questions, guys, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you